Welcome to the Fantasy Football Breakdown, ladies and gentlemen, part of the Wayniac Nation Network. I'm your host, Wayne Cavati, and I am the Wayniac of Wayniac Nation. Before we get into our show this week, we have two huge congratulations to hand out. The first is to the Houston Texans, who will become the first 0-17 team in NFL history with the big news of this 17-game season. So congratulations on your dumpster fire. It's going to pay off in the history books. The second is to the two gentlemen on my left and my right on our 20th episode. We've made it 20 episodes. That's kind of a milestone. So congratulations to the legendary Dunton and Fanduel fee for their service and their time on the Fantasy Football Breakdown. And as always, let's welcome them to the show. Dunton, welcome back. How's your post-Elite Eight world treating you?
I'm tired. Those games were so late.
They were.
Late. And I still can't believe the Michigan shot selection at the end of the game last night. But besides that, we have the Final Four this weekend, which is exciting.
So, yeah, it definitely is exciting.
Right.
And joining us from New York is the man that goes by many names. We know him as Fanduel Fee, but he's also the Ghostbreaker, who is the mastermind behind our Twitch channel. And on the Ghostbreaker channel, you can see his card breaks. Fee, how's it going?
It's good, man. New York today legalized marijuana, which is a fantastic thing.
Interesting. There's going to be a lot of new revenue in the Big Apple.
Yeah. And the ghost breaking channel is going good. I haven't actually had a break in like a week or two, but hopefully we're going to get something going soon.
Okay. So make sure you check back on this same very Ghost Breaks channel that you're watching us on Twitch right now, if you're watching us on Twitch right now, which you should be. And remember, we're also on YouTube. And you can now find our podcast all over the place, like Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts. We're working on iTunes. They're giving us a harder time, but we will be there. So please be sure to listen. And as always, if you want to show your support, we always appreciate it. What we've been doing here, aside from last week when I went on a rampage on my Houston Texans because of free agency, we've been doing our way too early 21 fantasy football rankings. We've taken a look at the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the wide receivers. And that leaves one thing, gentlemen, and that is the tight ends. And that's what we'll be taking a look at today. If you've been listening along, you know that we had a consensus number one at quarterback, which was, who was it, guys?
It was Josh Allen.
Thank you, Josh Allen. He was so good, I forgot. At running back, we had McCaffrey. And then at wide receiver, we had Devontae Adams. So we've had a consensus. I'm going to go out on a whim and on a ledge, a very, very short ledge here, and say that we have a consensus number one at tight end. Okay. So before we jump into the rankings, we want to remind you one thing. These are fantasy football rankings. We're not here to talk about who the best player in football is. We're here to talk about who's going to get your team the most points during the 2021 fantasy football season. And secondly, we're looking at the tight end today. And what we've learned about the tight end, pretty much Dunton, Fiamano, and myself have been in the same fantasy league for 23, 24 years now?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And the tight end is where the position in fantasy is where you could take some chances, right? So I'd expect us, if you go out there and look at the many 2021 rankings that are already being posted, I expect ours to be a little off the grid, right? Because that's what you have that freedom with tight ends. You try to look for, you have that tier one, and then whereas in a running back and a wide receiver, you have tier one, tier two, tier three, tier four. In tight end, you have tier one, and you have everybody else. All right. And everybody else could have that big year. So we'll get started with number one. I don't think there's much that needs to be said or much debate here. Dunton, who's our number one fantasy football tight end?
Mr. Travis Kelce, 100%. I think he ended up being the number 3 wide receiver last year. So he's 100% the number one tight end this year. So
yeah.
And in terms of your tiers, I think the tier is Travis Kelce.
It could be. It could be. Fee, anything to add?
No. It's Travis Kelce. He's your best tight end, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, I mean, it's the easiest pick that we've had, I think, in every position that we've looked at, right? There's no competition here. He's just heads and shoulders. He not only is he that good, he's in an offense that is made for him to be that good again, right? And he's just a tough dude. And man, he could do whatever it is you need to do, and there's no reason he's not. I mean, he's a first rounder at this point, right?
That's the
Because
question, right? That's the question that comes up with Travis Kelce is how high in the first round is he picked, right? Because he is heads above every other tight end. So you are taking him. There's no other tight end that's coming close to him, right?
but
Like
Dutton, just to add to what you're saying, he's
Yeah.
heads and shoulders above about 30 wide receivers.
That's where I was
Right.
going next. Like he's in the top 3 wide receivers, right?
Right.
And they usually go in the first round. So yeah, go ahead, Fee. Like
I was gonna say I'd be shocked, to be honest, if he went higher than 5 or 6. I'd be shocked.
Yeah,
I wouldn't necessarily question someone for doing it, but at the same time, I'm not sure you can take him that high.
right.
But that's
No,
I mean
agree
that's
with you
just
there.
my opinion. So
I agree with you.
yeah, and I think it's a matter of really, are you taking him above Stefan Diggs? Are you taking him above, like, because that's where you're going, right? You're going to pick Travis Kelce instead of a DeAndre Hopkins or a Stefan Diggs
Right.
or
Yeah.
a Saquon Barkley possible, right? Like, you're going to play that gamble in your head of I'm getting the best tight end, but for what sacrifice am I doing that?
Right. Yeah, and that's what you got to look at. But again, I mean, you nailed it. The value he brings being so far ahead of everyone. I don't know that we've ever had there's a tight end in the first round debate before in our 24 years of fantasy. So it's definitely interesting to look at. Joking aside, I do think our top tier of tight ends is a 4-man race. And I think we'll touch on those 4 men in a little bit different order between the four of us. I guess there's a 4th person on our show now. The 3 of us. Moving to number 2, Fee, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I got Darren Waller. He was very what's the word? He was not appreciated enough for what he did this past year. He had incredible stats to have to be the 2nd highest tight end in the league, and he just didn't come close to Kelce. But the fact of the matter is that he still had ridiculous stats for a tight end. And there's no really, again, same kind of situation as Kelce. There's no reason to think that he won't do it again.
Well, and I have him at number 2 as well. Unlike Kelce, who has an incredible wide receiver playing next to him, Waller's the number 1 option, right? So if that offense is going to get better under the offensive guru that John Gruden is, then it's going to be because of him up the middle, just tearing people apart. And he does have that Kelce athleticism to him that he plays the position like a wide receiver, So I think you could circle Waller at number 2. Dunton.
I don't disagree with anything either one of you said with Waller. The only question mark I have, which why I don't have him at 2, I have him at 3. I'm giving you a little spoiler there. Is I'm questioning the quarterback situation in Las Vegas. Derek Carr, David Carr, whichever Carr is there these days. Carr, right? Derek. Yeah, I don't know. He's up and down, right? He fluctuates. He started out really well last year, and then he kind of dipped down. So I don't know. Which is why I'm putting Logan Thomas at number 2 because of Fitzmagic coming in there. Mm-hmm. If you look at Logan Thomas from week 6 to 17, he was top 3 in fantasy points. He had the 3rd most receptions, 3rd most yards, and he was tied for 5th in touchdowns. And that was with a rotating, revolving door of quarterback, right? Like
none of which are likely to be in the NFL next year.
Right. And now we're bringing in Fitzmagic, and I just think that's nothing but good sign for Logan Thomas.
So and they brought in another receiver too.
Exactly. So it's opening the game up. Yeah. So I think the quarterback is why I'm putting Logan Thomas there. I just have more confidence in Fitzmagic than I do in Derek Carr.
I think that's fair. And I have your guy Logan Thomas at number 3. And I'm looking around. I saw some lists still 2021 rankings still have Logan Thomas at 16, 17. I just think they're nuts. Yeah. I think, first of all, we'll discuss this when we get to the episode in depth, but I think the football team is going to have one of the best fantasy offenses in the game this year.
I agree.
I mean, you got talent at every position, and Thomas, It doesn't matter. I'm going to go back to, I believe it was week 16 against the Carolina Panthers, and that bum Haskins started the game and couldn't find Logan Thomas, which
you're exactly right. Yep.
If you know how big he is, it's inexcusable that you can't find Logan Thomas to get him. And then that guy, what was his name? Hanky
comes in.
Yeah, he comes in for the fourth quarter, and Logan Thomas finished the game with, I believe, 10 catches and about. I'm going to look it up. Well, because I know Fee is on board with me with Logan Thomas, number 3.
Yeah,
and why? He's just a target machine. I'm going to look up this game log while Fee talks. Fee, take it away.
Go.
All right, so yeah, I have Logan Thomas at 3. I know we kind of skipped over the 2 part because Dunton had Thomas at 2 and we had Waller, but I have Logan Thomas at 3, just like the Wayniac here. And, you know, for every reason that you guys just mentioned, I feel like Washington's offense is going to be, I don't know. I mean, it's not going to surprise me, and I don't think it's going to surprise you two, but I think it's going to surprise a lot of people this year. Their offense is going to be really good. I love Terry McLaurin. I've loved him since last year. I knew he was going to be good. He's only going to get better. They brought in Curtis Samuel. They still have Antonio Gibson running the ball. And now that you throw in Fitzmagic, who's a crafty little veteran, right? And
he went to Harvard.
Yeah, there you go.
He did. He went to Harvard.
And now you have weapons everywhere on that offense. Okay. And you might say, well, they might be spread too thin. That might be the case, but I just think it's going to be fantasy goodness all year long with them. Even, if someone gets hurt, they're just going to have, they have a ton of weapons on that offense, and they're going to be really good. Listen, their defense is really good.
I was just about to say that team is trending in the right direction. The only thing that's holding that team back is the shadow of the nonsense surrounding their owner. Let's be honest, right? Everyone loves their coach. Like, everyone loves their football team brand that they have going on right now.
It's amazing that they pulled that off.
Right.
So Dunton, but yes, he had 12 targets in that game. And I believe Logan Thomas, that is, in that game that I was talking about. And I believe he had 2 or 3 throughout until the fourth quarter when Hanky came in. Dunton, so your number 3 was Waller?
Waller, and you guys said it. I mean, he's big. He's a huge target. He's fast. He's athletic. He's got hands that grab anything out of the air. I mean, like I said, my concern with Waller is not Waller. It's that somebody has to throw Waller the ball.
Yeah.
So,
No, that's fair.
Yep.
I think on our next one, and this is where my tier 1 ends, right? I think you could take any of these 4 guys and you're going to kind of get the same. I mean, like we said, Kelsey's above and beyond, but I think you'll get that elite tight end number 1 value in any of these 4 guys. And then from there, it's a total crapshoot. But so let's look at number 4. Dunton, we'll start with you.
I have George Kittle, and the reason I have Kittle there is just we're looking at a huge question mark at quarterback, right? So we don't know what the 49ers are planning. There's rumors that Jimmy G is gone. There's rumors of trades. There's all kinds of rumors. I mean, George Kittle could be easily number 2 on this list, right? I mean, the guy is great. Last year, he was held back by injuries, right? That's really what held him back, because at the end of the year, he was still George Kittle, and we didn't know who was throwing him the ball in San Francisco.
100% true.
So I'm keeping George Kittle there because he has all the tools to be great.
I think I agree with you. I think he's number 4 because of injury and quarterback situation. Nothing to do with him, right? Not his ability. So I agree with you 100%. Fee.
I really wanted to put Kittle up at number 2. And as a matter of fact, I even thought about putting him at number 3 and dropping Thomas down, just for the sheer fact that I think that he's a better athlete and a better player. But like you guys said, there's question marks there, right? And yeah, you're splitting hairs, between 2 and 4. And so I think that yes, I have Kittle there, but he could very easily be the number 2 tight end, like Dunton said.
Yeah. So those are our top 4. Anyway, you mix them up. So and like I said, I think that's our first tier. So this is where it gets dicey. This is where we're not going to agree as much on positions. And I think when we get to number 10, I think we'll have some names left over that could be big surprises this year that we should discuss as well. So moving on with our way too early 2021 fantasy football tight end rankings, let's move into tier 2, which is everybody else. And the number 5 tight end heading into 2021 season is Fiamano. No, it's not Fiamano. Fiamano, who do you have there?
I got Mark Andrews, although it could be me.
It honestly could. That's how wide open this is.
I got Mark Andrews. I think that the Ravens try to make a concerted effort to try to not have Lamar run the ball as much. I think that they found that they had issues last year when they were being held down by defenses with Lamar just basically running the ball all the time. And while they're not going to throw the ball deep, I think Andrews is the perfect complement to that running game where you can throw him the ball short over the middle. And, he did it 2 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. Where he had some great stats. And I think that they're going to get back to that. So I got Andrews at 5.
I 100% agree with you. I think if he played for a quarterback that was a throw first quarterback, we'd be looking at 2 or 3 for him. Not that 5 is bad by any means, but it's that uncertainty. He'll disappear. And look, the Ravens had about 6 straight weeks of COVID issues, right? And just on and off. And he had some injury tweaks here and there. So, I mean, the Ravens season, you can't judge what happened to him last year as a down year after his huge 2019. So I'm not looking at it that way, but just Lamar and Dobbins, they gave up on Ingram. They sent him over to Houston. So obviously it's the Dobbins show. And this is still one of the top rushing offenses in the league. So, there's question marks, but I think Andrews is still the go-to guy for Jackson. So I think he's a great number 5. Dutton, who do you have? Say it right.
Touchdown, TJ Hawkinson. TD, TJ Hawkinson. Do you want that? That's who I have there. And the reason I have him there is it's going to be interesting to you guys. I think it's just he's one of the only ones left. I don't know who else is left on the offense in Detroit for their quarterback. What's his face from the Rams?
Jared Goff.
Right. I couldn't think of his last name. Jared Goff. So Jared Goff's going to need somebody to throw to, and I think TJ might be the only person left there right now. So I mean, he's solid in the red zone. Last year he had 6 touchdowns, 67 catches. It's not bad for a tight end. It's just you're not getting that crazy Kelsey numbers, right? But you leave the season, you're like, hey, my tight end got 6 touchdowns and almost 800 yards. You're pretty happy with that. So, I mean, you'll take it. So, yeah, I'm putting
especially when you draft a Hawkinson, right? You're not over drafting this guy.
No, you're drafting him, late, 8th, 9th round, maybe, right? Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, we're deep into the draft now at this point, right?
Right.
After Kittle, you're not jumping on a tight end. You're kind of waiting to see who's the best available.
Yeah, who's left.
Right.
So I think, like I said, I think it's just out of necessity, Jared Goff has to find Hawkinson. So that's why I put him there.
I like it. And moving on to number 6, I'll just stick with what you said because I agree with you. But I'm going to say this because of different quarterbacks being in different places. I actually had Hawkinson out of my top 10 when I started making this because I don't like Goff. I don't think he's never been a big tight end guy. He's always going for the receiver. Granted, it's a different offense. But it's like you said, he won't have many more options in Detroit, right? So I think what Hawkinson's become is a reliable guy, especially in the red zone, like you said. I think it was like a 5-week. He got those 6 touchdowns in a 5-week span, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was like every week he was scoring.
Yeah, and then the team just completely fell apart. Like, don't forget the Lions were in the hunt in the beginning of the season, and they just fell apart,
as they do,
as Lions do. And I think that's why I bumped him back up to number 6, is just being this grizzled veteran that gets the job done. Fee?
Right. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have Hawkinson at 6 also. I don't think that he'll be better than Andrews. I know Dunton has him higher, but I don't trust Goff, and I don't trust the Lions, to be perfectly honest.
That's too hard.
And I think Andrews has the higher ceiling for sure.
I agree. Dutton?
It's interesting because I have Andrews at 6 for the simple fact that I think Goff has a little bit more accuracy than Lamar Jackson. But again, we're splitting hairs here, right? We're in this we're
exactly.
in this, you're looking at these tight ends who have skills. Again, these guys are not devoid of skills. Like, they have the skills, right? And given the right person throwing them the ball in the right offense, they could move way up these rankings.
Right.
But
And it gets weird with some of these guys, especially like a Hawkinson and an Andrews and these guys that are blockers too, right? Because they're taking out of plays. Whereas a Kelsey, sure, he's a great blocker, but come on. He
Right.
holds for 2 seconds and he's breaking down the field, right? You're,
Right.
you're not looking on him to be the key blocker on any play.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, and that's what makes the tight end positions. You could, if you're having success running the game, your tight end in fantasy could be taken out of the game from
Right.
first quarter all the way to the end.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If your running back is clicking at 5 yards to carry, you might as well kiss that tight end goodbye that day, right? Because they're just going to be blocking all day.
Yes. So let's move on. Number 7 is another guy that I had down in my rankings, mainly because of quarterback situation, but I bumped him back up just because I love for this guy to let me down continuously, as he did when I named him a start all the time last year. And I think I called him our breakout player heading into the season, the guy I expected to be our breakout, Mr. Mike Gesicki down there in Miami. But, the kind of quarterback that they have, kind of in a Lamar Jackson kind of way, that those are the kind of quarterbacks that look to their tight end. And I think he's still good enough to have in our top 7. Fee.
I have Dallas Goedert here. I think that the Eagle, I mean, like the quarterback situation between the Eagles and the Dolphins is very similar.
Yep.
I feel like Tua and Jalen Hurts are very similar type of quarterbacks. They both can move. They both can run. Hurts probably a little bit better. But they're very similar in their approach to the game. And I have Goddard here just because I believe in the Eagles offense a little more than I do the Dolphins right now. That could change, but I feel like that wouldn't happen until midseason when I see that the Dolphins need to prove it to me before I decide that I'm going to go that way. And especially with Zach Ertz now gone in Philly, and Wentz also, they're probably, I guess we don't know really if they're sticking with Hurts or not, but with Ertz gone,
Flacco.
Yeah. No, with Zach Ertz gone, I think that Goddard takes on a much bigger role in that offense.
Yeah, Dunton.
Yeah, and I was going to jump on what Fee said, because I have Goddard here too, and you said at the end, Fee, Zach Ertz opens up a huge hole, right? The Eagles have for years relied on the tight end. It hasn't mattered, who their quarterback has been. The tight end has been a focal point of that offense, and I think Goddard reaps the benefits of that. I think Jalen Hurts reaps the benefits of a Goddard, becomes a safety blanket, right? We've always talked about young quarterbacks relying on tight ends, so I think it's a good spot for both of them. So that's why I have them there at 7.
I like it. Dutton, why don't we stick with you and just jump on down to number 8 in our way too early fantasy football rankings for the tight ends?
Again, I have Gesicki. You talked about him at 7, and it came back to Fee. You said it, talking about Goddard at 7. I moved Gesicki to 8 because I have more confidence in Jalen Hurts than I do in Tua right now. So, I mean, I think everything else you said is right on with Gesicki. Like, Wayne, you nailed it. Like, he's got the potential. He can do it. Like, he was a letdown, I think, last year in comparison to what we were expecting. He did not reach his expectations at all. But I think, again, is that safety blanket, feature that I think, could be a good thing between him and Tua. So I got Gesicki at 8.
Yeah. Fee, how about you?
So these last 3 or 4 kind of like tied me up a little bit.
Just close your eyes, throw a dart.
Yeah, pretty much. You probably could do that. But I decided to go with Jonnu Smith here. And the reason is because Jonnu is a very, very good athlete and a really good offensive talent. I think that he proved it in Tennessee occasionally, because I don't think that they used him enough, right? But he's got the talent and the skills to be a much better tight end. And I like him being in New England. Belichick has proven that he loves the tight end. And
and doesn't matter how many they have.
Right, exactly. And listen, Jonnu Smith is an offensive guy. He's not a blocker. He's not he's out there to catch passes. And I like that about him, and that's why I got him at number 8.
My problem with him and why I left him out of my top 10, spoiler alert, why I left him out of my top 10 is that, so obviously he played in the shadow of Delaney Walker, and he was still able to get his as the number 2 tight end in Tennessee when Delaney Walker was there. And then last year he had that opportunity to be the number 1 and he got hurt, he did play and he had some big games. And he got hurt and injuries happen. I'm not faulting him for that, but I got to see him do this for a full season before I put him in my top 10. So that being said, I disagree with you having him in the top 10, but I think we're talking about a guy that could be higher than where you have him now if he could stay healthy and be the offensive weapon that he is. That being said, I threw in Robert Tonyan there. I think I have him at number 8, and I think he has the biggest bust potential of the good tight ends from last year. Tight ends have not been a successful position in Green Bay's offense. So it was very interesting that Aaron Rodgers was comfortable with a tight end as frequently as he was. Plus, we talked about you could lose your tight end because of blocking, and you have one of the best running backs in the game, right? And you just have so many weapons. So I have him at number 8 because of that potent Packers offense, but I think he has the biggest potential to bust. Dutton.
Number 8, that's where we're at, right? I already did 8.
Oh, you did 8. You started.
Yeah, I did Gesicki. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. So
let's get back to number 9.
All right. And I can tell you who number 9 is.
Yeah, you should do that, Dutton.
All right. Number 9, I'm going to tell you, I have Hunter Henry. Okay. And I have Hunter Henry at 9 we've talked about it, right? He's got such a high ceiling. He could be so much higher. He had 93 targets and he missed like 4 games, right? Your tight end had 93 targets and he didn't play in 4 games. That's insane. So he's got what could possibly be the most promising of the young quarterbacks from that draft class, right? Like, I mean, he was lighting it up last year, Herbert. So
Henry's gone though.
He's in New England.
He's in New England. That's what I meant. Sorry. So he's in New England. Right. He's coming off of.
You're right.
Right. He did last year. He's coming off of Herbert, which was great. He's going to Cam Newton, but we've talked about it. And I think we talked about it before. Cam Newton made Greg Olsen great.
Right. Yeah, we talked about it last week.
So I think this is where I put Hunter Henry here at 9. He's just got to stay on the field. And I think that is why he's a risk. If he plays 17 games now instead of 16, he could easily be in the top 4. So, injuries scare me.
I have Henry at number 9 as well, but with the caveat that if this guy disappoints me one more time, I'm never ranking him again. I'm just done. I'll be done with him because I'm tired of hearing about how great he is. And he does. He has great weeks. But it's time for this guy to either put up or shut up, because especially when you got Jonnu Smith playing next year, right. And I think I'm going on potential. I'm going what we've been waiting to see from him in a full season, and that's what I'm ranking him on. And if he doesn't do it, then he's my next Jared Cook, and we know how I feel about that guy. So, Fee, who do you have at number 9?
I have Mike Gesicki at number 9 for most of all the same reasons that you guys mentioned. I need to see it first, and I just dropped him down slightly a couple of spots in my list. But if you let me talk first about number 10, I'll talk about why I have Hunter Henry down there as opposed to a little bit higher like you guys. Yeah. And it's because I feel like, in my opinion, that Hunter Henry is on the decline portion of his career.
Which is sad, and I think
it is sad. It is sad. I don't think he's that old. I think I don't want to say he's washed up. He's not, but he's on the downslope. He just probably got over the hump, and he's probably just on the downslope now of his career. And I just feel like, especially with big guys like that and tight ends, I don't want to say he's going to get hurt again, because no one can predict something like that, but I don't. He's not as athletic as he once was. And with Jonnu Smith there, I feel like they use Jonnu more so as their weapon, their offensive weapon, than Hunter Henry, because I don't think Hunter Henry is nearly as explosive or nearly as athletic as Jonnu Smith. And so that's why I have Smith as high as I do and ranked as high as I do, and Hunter Henry slightly lower.
You think it becomes like a Jonnu Smith is the 20 to 20 guy, and then Hunter Henry gobbles up all the red zone targets?
Maybe it could be something like that. It could be something like that. Yeah, I mean, like,
which would be
probably
frustrating.
Hunter Henry could be their big red zone guy. Sure.
Right, which would be frustrating if you're a Jonnu Smith owner and you're watching him with 15 targets and 9 receptions and 78 yards and no touchdowns.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Dutton, who do you have at number 10?
I have Robert Tonyan at 10, and I agree with everything you said, Wayne, about Packers and traditionally and tight ends, except there's something different about Robert Tonyan, and it's that I think Aaron Rodgers built this tight end. Do you know what I'm saying? All these other tight ends have been like really good tight ends at other teams that have come to the Packers.
Sure.
And Aaron Rodgers is like, oh, okay, you're here now, and now I got to work you into the system, where this is more like, hey, you were here. And now I've started to rely on you, and I can trust you. I mean, and Tonyan had the exact same amount of touchdowns as Travis Kelce last year.
Oh, yeah.
They both had 11 touchdowns.
Machine.
Yeah, like
absolutely.
So, yeah, I think Tonyan, another year under his belt, if he doesn't perform well, we're going to blame it on the Aaron Rodgers doesn't like tight ends. I mean, and that's just what it's going to come down to.
Well, and it's like the reliever in baseball, right? It's just it's a volatile position. And that's why Travis Kelce is so unique and such a unicorn at the position, because he's so elite for what 5th year now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we haven't seen tight ends like that. Like you have those are like the Shannon Sharps and the early Gronk, like
and Tony Gonzalez maybe, right?
Like,
and even that wasn't as dominant when Tony Gonzalez was as good as he was.
Yeah, I mean, and that's why Gonzalez was the first tight end off the board for 5-6 years in a row, right? And there was no conversation about it. It's just those guys are unicorns, and they're heads and shoulders above everyone else, and it's with these tight ends, and that's why I think Tonyan has the biggest bust potential of the people I've picked,
right?
Because we haven't seen it twice. Show me twice.
It's the Aaron Rodgers doesn't like tight ends, and I don't understand it, because you would think that would be a position that he would love in the red zone.
What's the famous George Bush quote? Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, strike 3. What do you say? Something like
exactly, something like that.
My number 10, I had a tie. I couldn't figure it out. I got Goddard and I got Irv Smith. Okay, I'm going to say this about Irv Smith right now. I almost put him in at number 5, and I'm going to tell you why. Cousins loved him in the red zone, and this is an offense first team. And I think that we're looking at the guy. We have the weird tight end that comes out of nowhere every year. They don't have Rudolph anymore, so you don't have to worry about sharing it. And there's always the tight end that comes out of nowhere, and he's just in an offense that, as bad as the Vikings are, they score points.
That is true.
And they are fantasy. Everyone on that team's a fantasy weapon. Everyone. And so without having to share with Rudolph now, which he started really not sharing. Rudolph became more of the blocking tight end towards the end of the season. Irv Smith was more of a red zone target. Now, you have Jefferson, you have Thielen, and like you said, he may be more of just a pure 2020 guy.
Right.
And be the red zone guy, because those guys are gobbling up all the other yards. But hey, you get 400 yards and 8 touchdowns for me, and I pick you in the 11th, 12th round. I'm happy.
You're good. You
do more than that. You do more than that. You're talking about a top 5 tight end, right?
Right.
And I, nothing else to touch on Goddard, and especially Ertz being gone. It's just, man, Philly. I expressed my views on that offense last year, and it's going to be a much different looking offense this year. But I just got to see it to believe it. I think if he had a different quarterback and if he was on another team, I'd have him probably closer to the top 5 as well. But his situation, and I agree with what you're saying about Hurts and
Tua.
Yeah, and that they're the same kind of idea. It's the same kind of reliance thing. But man, the Phillies offense was was a mess last year, and it hurt to watch some games.
Yeah.
So I have them at number 10. And I think both those two guys have the potential to jump the highest.
Real quick, let me throw one more guy at you, and there's going to be a couple of caveats here. Number one is, will he be designated as a tight end? Okay, for fantasy. And number two is, what team is he going to go to? Because it's a guy who is in college right now that's going to be in the draft, and it's Kyle Pitts.
Did I see he ran something absurd today?
Yes. He
4.3
or something. Yeah.
Listen, let me tell you something. I don't know where he's going to be designated, but Kyle Pitts is going to be a force in this league, and it will depend on where he ends up, on what team, but he could be very, very good. And I guess I want to say a sleeper, but he's going to be a surprise for some people, because people might not want to take the risk on taking a guy that they haven't seen play in the NFL yet. But let me tell you something, he looks like the real deal, and I'm in on him. So I got him right at 11 there out of my top 10, but he very easily could leapfrog all 5 or 6 guys ahead of him and jump into the top 5 very easily, especially the way tight end is.
Well, I think you said it best, though. I think it's where he goes, right? Because you're right. He could be knocking on the top 10 door, or he could go to the New York Jets, and we can be like, okay, Kyle Pitts, see you later.
Right.
Thank you for playing.
Of course.
Kyle Brady.
Right.
Dunton, do you have anyone like that? Someone that could surprise?
I don't know if it's a surprise, and I'm just going to say it. And Wayne, you talked about it a lot last year towards the end of the season, but Gronk, I mean, he's coming back. He got better, which is weird to think because he got older throughout the season. But yet, as that season went on, he did get better, right? He got a lot better. And, I think, the Bucks, they're the first team in the Super Bowl era, I think, to have all 22 starters coming back, which is the complete opposite of the 49ers that we joked about when they had their team from the Super Bowl playing and there was nobody on the field playing from the Super Bowl.
He finished with the 4th highest touchdowns. For tight ends.
Like I'm saying, he just got better throughout the year, and I think.
So then, let me ask you something. What happens in Tampa Bay when Howard comes back? Who was what's his name? One of his favorites. What was that guy? What's your coach's name? No, well,
Bruce,
Jameis.
Yeah,
but
Bruce
Arians always had him in the mix. So now you have a 3-headed monster down there. And Brait was already good alongside Gronk. I think Brait's very good. I think if Brait was the lead tight end on another team where we have a top 10 tight end, I really do.
I agree with you.
Now you have a 3-headed monster. How are you going to feed all those mouths?
That will get interesting. And I think that is where we're going to have to rely on. And I know this is going to sound very oxymoronic, the leadership of Rob Gronkowski, where he's going to have to look around that room and be like, okay, I am the elder statesman in here, right? Maybe I either take the lead as the alpha dog of this wide tight end core, or I step aside and say, look, OJ Howard's got much more tread on his tires than I got left. Cameron Brate has got much more meat on his bone than I have left up the middle, right? Maybe I'm just used as a decoy. I don't know. It'll be interesting because, Wayne, I think it does get tricky, right? 3 tight ends who are all dominant in the red zone, and then you have a quarterback who, let's be honest, does have a favorite of those 3.
Yeah.
So, it could get interesting, but everything right now has shown us that Tampa Bay has done nothing but become the most unselfish team in football out of nowhere, right? So maybe that can.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
So
I like Higbee. I think Higbee has a big chance with Stafford out there. Stafford. We don't know what Stafford's numbers would have been like because he did rely on his tight end for so long, but his tight end was Eric Ebron, who doesn't catch the ball, right? So you can't judge the numbers that Stafford's tight ends put up in the past because his tight ends they had stone hands. I really think Higbee has, again, we have no idea how this offense is going to look, in Los Angeles, but I think Stafford, I mean, the guy can chuck yards, and he's never been shy to the tight end, no matter who it is. We know we have Hawkinson ranked high based on his performance with Stafford. So, I think that's a guy that could easily be top 10 before the year's over. And again, that's what scared me about ranking Hawkinson was because of how Goff never looked at that guy.
Right.
But again, in Detroit, it's a matter of not having other options where Goff had plenty in Los Angeles.
Here's a couple of names we didn't mention, and we don't necessarily have to talk about them, but a couple of names just kind of throw on.
One big one. I want to see if he's the first name you named.
Go ahead.
Noah Fant.
Yeah, that's who I was going to say. Yeah,
I have no faith in that guy. He's my Hunter Henry.
And who's the quarterback? And who's the quarterback there?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Drew Lock, right?
Well, yeah.
Is it?
Think?
I don't know. I guess. Yeah. I mean, I guess we don't know really, but.
Unfortunately, the last good quarterback they had. No, they had Manning. I was going to say the last good quarterback
is their general manager
drafting the bad quarterbacks.
Right.
But they did go out and get Manning.
Right. All right. Who else you got, Fee?
Who else?
And I know that you guys are gonna hate this, and I do myself. But another name that we didn't mention is Evan Ingram.
I mean, but they got Rudolph, right? So
they did, but he's also having foot surgery. I'm sure he'll be back, but still.
He's a guy that he disappears because he just becomes so unreliable, right? Like he'll have his big games, and when he's rolling, they'll feed the beast. But when they chuck the ball 3 times to him in the first quarter, and all 3 of them go out of his hands, they got wide receivers now. Is Slayton still there?
Slayton is, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're in the
Galladay, they got Slayton, they got Stoshep.
And you got Barkley back, who's a great receiver out of the backfield. So you have options when he goes to those games that he forgets that he plays football.
And don't forget, Fee, you're probably in the playoffs if he catches that first down pass against the Eagles.
Oh, God, yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah, it's not just that he drops passes. He drops really important passes.
Touchdowns. Yeah. Who else we got? Anyone else big we missed?
Hayden Hurst was the one that I was thinking of.
I was thinking about him, too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a great year.
I think it's just there's a lot of questions surrounding Atlanta's offense right now, right?
Hayden Hurst. I had him this past year, and he goes on the list. He goes on the no draft list for me. I understand he has opportunity in Atlanta, and that could very well throw him into the top 10 mix. But it's just the guy that I just can't trust.
Well,
I mean, there's just I can name 10 other guys like I already have,
right,
that I prefer ahead of Hayden Hurst.
Well, he also had 5 games last year where he had single-digit yards. So 1/4 of his games, he had less than 10 yards caught in.
Yeah.
What do we think about Austin Hooper this year? Do you think a healthy year of Hooper in that offense is going to be a top 10 guy eventually?
No.
I think Austin Hooper's a great blocking tight end and good for a couple of catches here and there, but I think that offense doesn't need a tight end to be successful.
Yeah, they didn't last year, that's for sure.
Right.
All right. No more names, Fee, that you thought we.
No, it was just Noah Fant and Evan Ingram.
Yeah, right. I was surprised. I knew I wasn't picking Fant, and I was surprised neither of you did. I didn't know that all 3 of us would, but I thought someone would have him in there.
Yeah, I think it's just the quarterback questions there, and you said it. I mean, he just likes to disappear in games.
Yeah. And by games you mean weeks.
Right.
So join us next week. We have all our rankings in the books. Maybe you'll get a surprise rank the kickers episode, but don't count on it. Please remember, we are on YouTube. You can find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Anchor, amongst a bevy of other sites. And if you want to go to the Instagram page, we're there under the Wayniac Nation Fantasy Football Podcast page. We appreciate your support. Keep listening, and we'll see you next time.